Happy anniversary, friend. As of 2.5 weeks ago, this channel turned 2, which feels like such a big deal because I cried when I hit 100 subscribers, and the first time I got a comment was mind-blowing to me. And there's a lot of you here now. There's quite a few of you, which feels huge because one thing I tell a lot of friends is one of my best character traits, but also maybe one of my worst, is I am not a hustle culture, big goals type of person. My YouTube was created because I was in a dark place and I just sort of felt alone, and I just needed an activity that I felt like I could be creative with and also had like a due date. I felt accountable to it, and that's where booktube came from for me. I've always been a reader. I never saw myself as somebody to sit on camera, but we've made it 2 years. And I got tagged in a book tag by Nerdy Nurse Reads, A Dream in Angel, such a bright light of a human being, and love you so much. If you guys like classics, literary fiction, she does lives every now and again, that's your girl. Go over there for sure. A Dream. But I was tagged in a book tag started by KD.
Nevertheless, I have not been reading much, and I thought, we're desperate for content, let's make a book tag. You know, remember the days when tags were a thing? I think they're still a thing. Who knows? I'll be honest, book tags aren't usually my thing, but needs must.
Now, I don't really do too many book tags. It's just not really something that I align myself with. But I kind of liked this one because it feels reflective as somebody who sees myself as a creative person, but not a creator. And I think having this little check-in feels good. I tried to think of something like so fun and interesting and crazy for our anniversary, but life is lifing so hard right now. So I just thought a chill little drink some tea and do a book tag, and occasionally you get clips of this sweet, sweet screaming ginger on the screen. So let's do the booktube creator book tag. I think that while this is almost pretty centered around being a creator, I think there are quite a few questions that are very applicable to you. So if you have thoughts, you have opinions, you all know I love hanging out in the comments with you. So please, please, please share if you have a thought, a feeling, a vibe. If you disagree with me, I don't think we disagree enough, actually, as long as you say it nicely. We all know I'm sensitive. I was just telling a friend, I have cried on camera way too many times, and it's never about books. If you have thoughts, I'm so curious because, again, I'm approaching this as somebody who sits in front of a camera once a week. And I'm so curious on if you feel these feelings as somebody who gets to just hang out at home with their cute little things. So, first question.
We gotta think of questions. Okay, I suppose the first one would be, do you feel obliged to read? I'm throwing this out to people who make videos because they're normally the people who answer these sorts of things. I know there's a subsection of people be like, well, I can't answer these in the comment. I don't know who you are. Do you feel obliged to read?
Now, this question comes in 2 parts, as KD had put it out. It's this, do you feel obliged to read? And then on top of that, is this a numbers game for you? And I think this is really interesting coming into the end of the year because we all are looking at our Goodreads, and usually around this time, a lot of booktubers put out the short books so you can reach your reading goal. And then as a creator, you do hang out in certain niches. You jump on certain trends. Like it's a thing. I would say that for me personally, I don't ever feel obliged to read. But I'm also so against book slump propaganda. I hate the book slump propaganda that, like, because you're feeling it, you must then force yourself out of it. Relax. Go do other hobbies. Take some time. Pancakes are my favorite food, but there has never been a point where I've gotten mad at myself for not eating pancakes every day. Like, do we see how odd that is? And I'm on your team. If you're somebody who hates feeling this book slump and you hate that and you want to push yourself out of that, be my guest. I personally will not. When I'm feeling those feelings and I'm feeling like books aren't hitting, I tell myself that it's about time that I go learn how to crochet. I tell myself that as a creative person, there are moments where being creative is difficult, and I don't think we view reading in the right way a lot of times. Like, you know how being an artist and painting and creating, it's so understandable that, like, hey, you can't be on game all the time. When you read a book and you interact with the world and you see these things in your brain and you're feeling and emoting, there's a lot happening. It is a creative act. And I feel like if we viewed reading in that way, it would be easier, because I think people are almost associating reading in the same way we do, like going for runs and the discipline around exercise. Or on another hand, they view it in the same realm of media as like a TV show, something you can just put on and intake. But there is an act of doing this, and there is an act of creativity of reading these words and feeling them. And I don't think we give enough credit to that. I can read books that have me, because when you read and you truly read, I'm talking truly read, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling fear, you're feeling excitement, you're feeling love, you're blushing, you're screaming, you're shouting, you're angry. To experience all of those things. Hey. Hi. What was I even talking about? Oh yeah. For you to sit here and feel these things, see these things, experience these things, do you recognize how much, what is it, left brain, right brain? Do you recognize how creative that is? And I do think we need to treat it in that way, because it's different than the muscle memory of going for a run and being a disciplined runner. And it's different than sitting here and watching a TV show who creates the visuals for you and creates the feelings for you. It's different. And I do think we should have more grace with it, because it is a creative act. And I think that's why I'm so gentle with myself, because if I'm not feeling it, I'm like, pew. Let me go do the things that enable me to be creative. I think that's how I sort of treat it. Because when I can't write and I can't paint, I go for a walk, because that regrounds me. The same things that I do when I'm in a writing block are the same things that I do when I'm in a reading block. I reset and I refuel and I recenter. I don't push through it. So no, I don't think I ever feel obliged to read. And then when it comes to numbers and like my Goodreads goal, for example, if you were here for my my goal setting of the year, I set a goal to actually read less. Because in my mind, reading the amount of books that I do and working a 9 to 5, I am not touching grass. I am not. And I love to read, and I'll get obsessed with a series and I'll make it my whole personality. But this year, I read more. And for me, when I look at these numbers, it's almost like I check in with how I've been feeling, because it's been a grief-filled year for me this year. And I think I read so much because I wanted to escape. And then the way of the world, I've been wanting to escape, and I've been reading and reading and reading. Like, it's taken a point where I'm like, stop. And when I hit those weeks where I look back and I'm like, oh goodness, you read 5 books in a week, I stop myself and I tell myself, like, quit it. Go do something that reconnects you with the world and touch some grass, touch some dirt, because there's a point in me where when I've been in books too much, I just feel disconnected from the earth that I love so much. And it's a sign that it's time for me to go out and touch a tree. We all know how much of a tree hugger I am. When I've hit a certain level of book reading, it's tree touching time. That's how I see it. I force myself into stopping. And when I'm in a book slump, it's like I'm like, whew. It's like I'm putting down an addiction. And I'm like, thank you. Whew. Time to go touch a tree. That's, I don't know, numbers. I set my Goodreads goal at 100. I read 130 to 150 every year. That's because I do manga, and I now have added graphic novels and comics to that. So I hit my goals no matter what. And I just set a number that's so easily attainable for me, because I live a life where I need wins where I can get them. So I set it at 100, which I know I'm going to hit. I would set it at like 10, but I don't. I think that would be just like a joke at that point. So I put it at 100. The next question,
which is, do you feel pigeonholed by your content? I feel this a lot. I don't know how many times people ask me to read certain things, certain trilogies, or ask me why I haven't like finished something, or why aren't I continuing.
All right, this is gonna sound, but just listen. Do I feel pigeonholed and like I need to make content on certain things? Sometimes I do feel like I'm a bad Black creator. Like, in full transparency. And do you know when I felt this the biggest? Last year, I wanted to do a month of love. Oh, I wanted to make February just smut and romance. And like, I wanted to make it so fun. But when I was putting that together, I had a sense of guilt for not making it nothing but Black content. And I'm a diverse reader. I'm reading a bit of everything. A lot of the times I get my books because I walk through the library and I just grab stuff. So half the time I don't even know it's diverse until I sit with it and I'm like, ooh, yes. But I've often felt like I could be a better minority booktuber. Yeah, for sure. I've gotten in my head about that more than once. And like, do I feel pigeonholed on my channel? No, I don't feel pigeonholed. I love this corner of the internet. I love that. I think we're all mood readers over here. You don't agree with this channel and you don't hang out in this channel if you don't pick up a little bit of everything. But I have often felt like, because there are so many amazing booktube channels where it's pushing minority voices and only minority voices. And I love that. There are whole channels dedicated to women who won't read male authors and they can just push female authors. And I love that for them. But I have felt like I am not a good enough activist because I'm not a loud activist. But I was recently talking to a friend about this, and I was like, I want to be louder, I guess, so that people know I have these feelings. And you know what my friend said to me? You've been tear gassed 2 times this year. If you don't think that's enough of you being active in your community and for voices, then I don't know what more you want. And I was like, yeah. There's nothing wrong with coming here for me to escape. This is for me to escape. And I feel like we live in this culture of you have to be so loud about how you feel. I'm a Black woman with a shaved head, a septum piercing, and a neck tattoo. I've told people that if you want to put anybody into a box and like make assumptions, you're most likely right when you look at me. You're most likely right. I've got a crush on everybody at Trader Joe's. I look like I have a crush on everybody at Trader Joe's. I look like I volunteer at the soup kitchen. But this is a book channel for me, and that's for me to escape. But I've often felt like I need to be louder, but I think that's just outside pressures. So do I feel pigeonholed? No. Have I felt like I needed to put myself in a smaller containers? Sometimes, yes, I have felt that. I felt like a bad minority creator. Often. But that's just me being my own worst enemy sometimes. Next question.
I suppose this brings me on to the third question, kind of similar to the first, some would argue, which is, are you reading because you love it, or because the algorithm's forcing you to do something? I know people talk like, oh, I can't believe, I never understand the algorithm. I promise you, like, Croatian literature is not being pushed, okay? You know what's being pushed. It's romantasy, fantasy, sci-fi. A lot of mainstream literary fiction tends to do very well. And indeed, this happens with hauls. People buy books so they can talk about them, or they get sent arcs. Are they really that invested in all of these? They're not. I'll tell you now. They're not.
Do I read for the algorithm? No. I am influenced by the algorithm, though. If I see a lot of people reading something, I'm gonna grab it. But that's because I have FOMO. When I see a lot of people talking about something, I want to know what we're talking about. And when I see a lot of people doing it at one time, I do rush to go get it. For example, I got Catabasis on the week it came out because it was so hyped up. I haven't gotten to it yet because I want to read R.F. Kuang in order. And one thing I tell a lot of my friends, and a lot of people know about me, is like, peer pressure, you barely even have to pressure. Barely. I'm saying this about like legal stuff. Nothing scary. Dare commercials worked on me so good, you guys. But when somebody's like, oh, come on, take a, and I'm like, okay. They're like, oh, you sure you don't want? And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Like, I guess I have to. I guess we gotta get crunk right now. I'm literally so quick. Minimal convincing over here. Minimal convincing. I could be there and I'm like, you guys, I'm just trying to have a chill night. I work tomorrow. It's like, oh, you sure you don't want to? And I'm like, line them up. I say this as a lightweight. 1.5 shots deep and I'm a runner. Yeah. When I go out, people have to put an air tag on me. Because something about me, I get it in my head that like, I need to go on an adventure. All that to say, I don't read for the algorithm. I'm influenced by the algorithm so easily. I'm upset by it all the time. Literally 24/7, I'm upset by it. But in the moment, I forget how many times I've been burned by the algorithm. I completely forget. And I'm like, this is the one. Every single time. And every single time, I'm surprised that I've been let down. It's marketing for you. There was actually a really interesting conversation. I think Books and Lala brought it up about this feeling of picking up books specifically for content and reading not for content and what that's like. But not, I don't know what I'm doing. Because like Books and Lala, for example, a lot of her vlogs and a lot of what she does, you see every single one of her books in something else. So when she does a wrap up, you've already seen those books elsewhere. I don't know. I haven't done too much self-reflection. But my content, I'm reading a lot on my own. But I also think it's because like during the work week, I can't possibly film all the time. So a lot of my time is I read on my own. But what I do is when I do my TBRs or I do a haul, I have a side stack of books that are like, if I did film a vlog, these would be fun to do. I do that a lot. So I don't know. I don't. But also I'm just here having a good time. I half the time don't know what's coming out the week after. And then, as you've seen when we do a vlog, I don't know what we're reading that day. And I often don't even make it through that many books. I just feel like this feeling of, do I read for content? And at what point is it still a hobby and something personal for me? I don't think I've crossed into that yet. I can see it becoming a thing, though. I can see that being very real, though. I don't think I'm there yet. We're still like, I'm so new to booktube. The final question.
I'm proud to Steve, I've not been making videos for so long, I don't even know how to end this. But what's like the worst part of content creation when it comes to books? I'll tell you now what I hate. When people are like, you didn't like a book, therefore you are stupid. You will get the snarkiest comment back. If anyone puts anything like that, you get the snarkiest comment back.
Anybody who's been here this whole year, you know that I struggled with that feeling of I'm not a person to some people, to some viewers. I'm a means to an end. I'm a product. I'm a service. And I get that a lot with how I sound. As somebody who has worked waitressing their entire life, I know how to waitress. I know how to put on a face. And there was a good point of being in front of this camera where I did feel like I had to perform. And how I sound, I do know that it's not necessarily everybody's cup of tea. So I do have in the back of my head, like, should I be here doing waitress voice? Thank you for calling T-Mobile. This is Fats. How may I help you? I can't maintain that every day, though. I can't do that. That is horribly straining to my voice. But I have felt that way. And I do get a comment on a lot of videos where it's like, you should sound differently. You should drink some water. And I do know how to talk in a way that is way more pleasant. I know that. But after a waitressing shift, I wouldn't have a voice. It's way too straining. It's way too straining for me to exist like that. It hurts. I can do it. I've done it for entire 8-hour shifts. Yeah, but it's just, this is my hobby. We're in my living room. I got a mic, so I don't have to shout at you. But I have definitely dealt with a little bit of insecurity around that. But I think it's due to when you create, you're no longer a person to some people. You are what they can get from you. You are the service that you provide to them. So I would say that's the thing I struggle with the most. Because I'm truly just a girl in her living room with a mic. Happy anniversary. Next week, we're doing Frankenstein. If you are joining me for the Frankenstein chat and you have Netflix, watch the movie so that we can talk about that a little bit. The video that I'm doing is all about the book, but I do have a small thought about the movie that I wanted to include. It's not going to be spoilery, but if you watch it, you'll get what I'm talking about. So you have another week because I do want to include the new Guillermo del Toro in that. And this is the fun part where I get to include some people, and I just kind of want to shout out some really cool small creators on this channel. First off, I do want to shout out Read Books, Catch Flights. If you like thrillers, fantasy, Read Books, Catch Flights is all over that. She is a flight attendant and she just sort of hangs out. And she has no shame about her Dutch Bros addiction. Kaylin is that girl. If you want somebody whose presence is just so bright and so grounding and so just cool, Kaylin is so cool, girl, to me. And impeccable reading taste. I'm tagging Kaylin as well. I'm also tagging Mrs. Pizza Reads because you gotta tag people with cute dogs. It's you have to. The cutest dogs. Oh my goodness. If you just want little dog to pop up. Also, Mrs. Pizza Reads, her book taste is impeccable. I get recs from her channel regularly. She's such a wide reader. You're going to get a little bit of everything. And I just kind of love the little sit down in her living room talks that we get. I also need to include Brandon's Haunted Library. If you want horror, Brandon is the guy. Brandon knows horror. I also want to tag Ty's Book Corner. To be honest, I'm just kind of want to shout these people out. I just want to give you some new booktubers to fall in love with, if I'm going to be so real with you. I want to tag Ty's Book Corner because Ty is here for your thrillers. If Holly, I see you, Holly. Ty's got you to get you out of this thriller slump. Also for sci-fi and fantasy, Ty is such a good little mix of books. Such a joyous person. It feels just so like I love getting to just sit down. It feels so friendly and comforting and safe over in Ty's corner of the internet. Okay, just one more and I'm not going to do any more, I promise. Ooh, I lied. Lonnie's Little Library, the coziest content. Lonnie has the coziest content. If you like cozy content, Lonnie is the person for you. And speaking of cozy, Story Tina is so cozy. I love the editing of Tina's videos. And if you want vibes, Cherie is the one for you. Horror lovers and black book lovers, Cherie is the one for you. Okay, no more. I've tagged a lot. I hope you can take a booktuber rec or two from me, and also let me know how you feel about reading. How do you feel about numbers? How do you feel about if you're influenced by the algorithm or if the algorithm influences you? How do you feel about putting yourself in a box? And also, how do you feel about if you feel almost bad about not being more diverse? If that makes sense. I'm gonna talk to you next time.